know and appreciate the rule of the law.
A section of Nairobi leaders who had accompanied him drummed support for his 2022 presidential bid.
Na hiyo contract ni mpaka 2022. Siwezi ruka Uhuru Kenyatta. Because I'm a man of principle, I'm a man of my word. But your contract sitaisha. And after that, I am 100% fully behind Musalia Mudavadi.
Sababu nyinyi mkienda mahali mnasema wewe na nani ndio viongozi wa Luya. Hatutaki wewe na nani. Wewe. Sababu ukisema wewe na huyu mnatuconfuse. Wacha mwingine akwe namba 2.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
Elsewhere, the Kongamano la Mageuzi Caucus group has vowed to rally Kenyans to defend the current constitution from what they claim is planned mutilation by the Building Bridges Initiative bill. The lobby group claims that by all design, the BBI bill is well crafted to reward the political class with positions at the expense of Kenyans who are facing harsh economic times.
The Kongamano la Mageuzi civil society group has reiterated the need for citizens to reject the Building Bridges Constitution amendments, terming the exercise illegal and not citizen-centered.
We know that the political class have been intimidated. They are quiet not because they all support the BBI. Out of intimidation and threats, they have kept quiet. But we are saying that we are the ones who put them in office. The masses are much more stronger and have got a stronger voice than the political class of this country.
The civil society group pointing out that the amendments are aimed at creating political seats for the political elite, and there was nothing for the common Kenyan.
It seeks to bring back the imperial presidency, the derogation of rights, state capture of institutions, inequalities in representation and in allocation of resources, geared to give fresh impetus to the infamous sessional paper number 10 of 1965.
And even now, towards the fight of the tyranny of money, the tyranny of capitalism, the tyranny of the political elite, the victims are going to be the poor workers and the peasants of our country. And the rest of the people have to stand, and defend this space.
The group warning that Kenyans tend to lose more despite the promises entrenched in the BBI draft bill. They have called on the political class to focus on strengthening the economy, which has been badly battered by the coronavirus pandemic.
The Building Bridges Initiative is a pact with the devil, calling on us to reject the referendum and instead focus our collective energy to fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, providing food for the poor, and reviving our shattered economy.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
And the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has confirmed the arrival of ballot papers at the respective polling centers ahead of the 15th December mini-polls in different parts of the country. According to IEBC, the ballot papers are secure with preparations for the by-elections finalized. Among electoral areas that will conduct the by-elections are Msambweni constituency, Dambaso and Kahawa Wendani wards, among others. Campaign period for the mini polls came to a close on Saturday.
With less than 48 hours to the Msambweni, Dambaso and Kahawa Wendani by-elections, IEBC is at the very tail end of its preparations to conduct the exercise. Now, ballot papers have already arrived at the respective electoral areas, with IEBC confirming that the ballot boxes will be opened in the presence of candidates or their representatives before being dispatched to their respective polling stations. In Msambweni, Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho made a last-minute pitch for the party's candidate Omar Boga, claiming he was the best bet to succeed Suleiman Dori.
Mimi naambia mpigieni Boga kura kwa sababu Boga ako na future. Boga ako na nafasi ya siku za usoni. Watu wa Msambweni na Kwale kwa jumla, na wahakikishia huyu kijana anaitwa Boga. Boga ni kiongozi ambaye ameona mbali. Ndio akishikana na watu ambaye wanaenda mbali.
Kwale Governor Salim Mvurya led the vote hunting for independent candidate Faisal Bada, who he termed as a visionary young leader. Elsewhere, the race to fill the vacant position of Kahawa Wendani MCA turned to be a supremacy battle between Kiambu County Governor James Nyoro and Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria. Governor Nyoro traversed the ward campaigning for the Jubilee Party candidate Kevin Ochieng Odhiambo, the late MCA Cyrus Omondi's brother. Nyoro called for peaceful elections and urged voters to vote and wait for the results. Kuria took his campaign trail to a Thika hotel after his planned tour in the area was thwarted by presence of rowdy youths. Kuria, who is supporting Bernard Kariuki Karanja of People's Empowerment Party, urged locals to vote for Kariuki, who he said is a mature, visionary and dedicated leader.
Mheshimiwa Sailo, na mnajua ni rafiki yangu, alikuwa rafiki yangu, kwamba kila mtu ako na uhuru na haki ya kuchagua mtu yeyote ambaye anampenda.
The seat fell vacant following the mysterious death of Omondi alias Gearbox while on official duty in India on February 12th this year. For Channel 1 News, I'm Ben Troinjue.
To the daily COVID-19 update, Kenya's coronavirus positivity rate remained above 5% based on what is recommended by the World Health Organization for a country to have flattened its curve. The country has in the last 24 hours reported 366 new infections from a sample size of 4,205, which brings the total caseload to 91,892 and positivity rate to 8.7%. One patient has succumbed to the disease while 432 others have recovered in the period under review. Nairobi County continues to lead with the highest number of daily coronavirus infections, with the county recording 142 of the 366 infections reported in the last 24 hours from a sample size of 4,205. Kiambu and Samburu counties came in second with 42 cases each, Murang'a 26, Narok 20, Kirinyaga 15, Embu 12, Mombasa 10, Kajiado 8, Nakuru, Busia and Garissa 6 cases each, Meru and Makueni 5 cases each, Machakos and Kilifi 4 cases, Uasin Gishu, Kitui, Mandera, Marsabit, Taita Taveta and Kwale 2 cases each, while Kakamega had a single case. A total of 91,892 people have been infected with the virus since March, while 73,028 others have recovered after 432 patients were given a clean bill of health between Saturday and Sunday. From the new recoveries, 45 were discharged from various hospitals, while 387 from the home-based care program. During the same period, one patient succumbed to COVID-19 disease, bringing the total number of fatalities to 1,587. Meanwhile, the civil society reference group is calling upon both the two levels of government to end the stalemate in the healthcare sector by finding a lasting solution to the ongoing strike by nurses and clinical officers. The group, which acknowledges concerns by medics as viable, condemns the government for failure to protect the frontline healthcare workers as they lead the fight against COVID-19 disease.
I really want to appeal to the Council of Governors to really come out very straight and talk. That's what I'm saying. They must talk to the doctors and agree on something.
I love you doctors, I love you nurses, but I want you to have a dialogue. Please sit down because you're so learned and have a dialogue and we treat our own people.
So is there any dialogue ongoing to end this strike that began on Monday by clinical officers and nurses? Let's find out from our conversation tonight on Family Matters. We speak with Boaz Onchari, who is the chair, Kenya National Union of Nurses, Nairobi branch, and also the chairperson for the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, Peterson Washira. They'll be telling us if there are any discussions and why the the strike is taking too long, even as the country tries to fight the coronavirus pandemic that has claimed lives of over 1,500. Let's move on. Nanyuki Town, one of Kenya's most valued and famous towns, famous towns, is marking its 100 years since it was established by the colonial government in 1920. Speaking during the celebrations dubbed Nanyuki at 100, Environment Cabinet Secretary Keriako Tobiko said it was unfortunate that the town has lost its glory due to the destruction of the environment that has dealt a big blow to its magnificent rivers.
Nanyuki Town, which saw the settlement of British immigrants in 1907 during the early days of colonial era, has marked 100 years. During the celebration, a handbook that contains the history of the town since its inception by the colonial government in 1920 was also unveiled.
Appreciating, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, a century down the line, the town has undergone various developments. However, concerns have been raised over its current status of natural resources. Environment Cabinet Secretary Keriako Tobiko, who was the chief guest during the celebrations, says most of the town's rivers have been depleted, expressing disappointment over neglect by locals.
I do not wish to repeat what has been said about environment, because no one needs to be told why we must protect, conserve our environment. And it is a joint and shared responsibility.
The CS noting that everything possible should be done to enable the town reclaim its former glory. Nanyuki Governor Ndiritu Muriithi said residents and neighboring communities have been embroiled in water-related conflicts that further affect efforts to conserve the environment and water towers.
Some resource conflicts that you are all aware of, particularly if you examine the area between Laikipia and Baringo. The conflicts that occur there between communities are generally driven by scarcity of resource, particularly water.
The leaders further saying the situation is slowly worsening as there is little or no water in the rivers to sustain those depending on them.
And you will see it this January, this February, the tensions that come because the water that is getting through is not enough.
And more so, the conservation of Nanyuki River. A lot of us who live downstream, and Governor, you know, for the last few years, by January, we don't have water down in Bogodo and its environs.
CS Tobiko, however, says all is not lost, noting that Laikipia County Government has already signed the transition implementation mechanism with the ministry. On Friday, the county unveiled the town's first ever monument in commemoration of the 100 years. The headstone in its pyramid shape has singled Nanyuki from the globe, Kenyan map, Laikipia map, and finally a representation of the famed Nanyuki town. Kamche Mensa for Channel 1 News.
And Museo Holman, you're watching from Vihiga County. Nijad Mbwanga, you're saying that our healthcare workers should not demand for these things. They should be readily available for them. We want people to give their lives for us, but we cannot reciprocate. Tell us, what do you think should be done to end this strike that now enters its 7th day, while the nurses and clinical officers say that they cannot resume duty unless they have adequate and quality personal protective equipment. Among other things, the county governments are saying we do not have the money. Let's find out where the talks to ending this strike are by speaking with our guest tonight, a representative from both the Kenya National Union of Nurses and that of clinical officers. Let's take our first commercial break right here, Channel 1 Weekend. We are back shortly with more news. Stay with us.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Enjoy the magic of Christmas with Coca-Cola.
Ni mimi. Ulitoa pikipiki? Mulitani sitaomoka. Ni yako. Hii nduti ni yangu. Niliwahi pale Quickbit. Quickbit? Quickbit imekuja kusaidia wananchi kama sisi. Nilinunua 399 shillings. Juu nilikuwa the lowest unique bidder. 399 shillings. Quickbit shilingi moja unaweza nunua free. Shilingi 2 unaweza nunua micro. Shilingi 5 unaweza nunua hata gari. So tupeleke huko hata mtu aende huko.
Jiunga na Quickbit ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbit.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. Quickbit, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
You won't sell me for a check.
You don't know me.
Flavia lady wants to consume my father. That's why she invited him to the wedding. That's why she invited him to dinner tonight.
No more flowers. No more insinuation. I am a married woman.
Children will accept me as their mom. Everything will be fine.
We have the same nose for money.
You are also suspecting that it's Bianca.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is Channel 1 Weekend. Kilifi County has been in the limelight for all wrong reasons, among them the escalation of cases of teenage pregnancies, the vice largely fueled by the coronavirus pandemic that resulted to closing of learning institutions and leaving unattended school-going child or girl child exposed. Many families are at crossroads given that most of the perpetrators of this act are just strangers to the young girls, and efforts to get justice usually hits a snag. Kamche Menza tells the story of baby mothers of Kilifi and how they struggle to fit in a rather big shoes of mothers.
19-year-old Rotuba Kahindi, a Class 8 pupil at Mikiriani Primary School in Kaloleni Sub-County, has had to learn motherhood at such a tender age.
Asubuhi naamka, naoga, naenda shule. Jioni nikirudi ndivyo namhudumia, kumwosha na kumpea chakula.
She is already bearing the burden of taking care of a child while still a student. She is a victim of teenage pregnancy.
Tulishikana na kijana mwaka wa 2017. Kufika mwaka wa 2018 kashika ujauzito.
She claims the man who impregnated her is a boda operator who vanished after the incident. The child is now 2 years and 6 months old. What's more painful, though, is that her family has found itself in a back-and-forth pursuit for justice after reporting the matter to the area chief and at Kizurini police station.
Nikarudi Kizurini, kaweka pitiri hapo, alafu nikaambiwa nenda nyumbani utetiwa. Karudi nyumbani. Baada ya kurudi nyumbani, hiyo pitiri baada ya siku 4 nikachukuliwa tena, nikaambiwa ni pitiri imepotea hapo Kizurini.
Struggling to make ends meet, the mother says that she has been forced to use the little shilling but has not received any help as the perpetrator walks scot-free.
Nasikia kuchomeka sana. Nasikia kuchomeka sana. Hata kama namjua yeye. kaenda kamtafuna, lakini vile simjui.
But the challenge in pursuing justice seems to be far deeper. Child rights campaigners within the area decry of delayed justice by police officers in the area. Fatuma Saro, a volunteer children officer, says she has reported about 10 cases that have not been resolved.
Kesi ya huyu msichana nilijaza P3, nikarudisha polisi hiyo P3, wakasema askari akasema atapigia simu assistant chief wa hili eneo ili waone watamkamata vipi kijana. Kuanzia hapo mpaka saa hii hakuna chochote kimefanyika. Kijana yuko kwa barabara, tunamputa kila siku, na msichana ndio huyo alizaa, anateseka. Kila wakati anapitia kwangu ananiambia, mama utanisaidia vipi kama ni mteteaji wa haki za watoto.
And when we follow up with the relevant authorities, it's like the perpetrators are not around to be seen. So you cannot arrest someone who is not around. And we are not very sure, because when we talk to the community, they bring another perspective. That is about laxity somewhere. It's not about the people who are not around, the perpetrators around.
As the world concludes the celebrations on 16 days of activism against sexual and gender-based violence, Rotuba remains one of the many victims of sexual and gender-based violence still seeking justice. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
Winners of this year's Kalasha International and Film Television Awards walked away with 3 million shillings besides the trophies and gift hampers. The Kenya Film Commission awarded each of the winners in the 31 categories with 100,000 shillings each, in addition of the trophy and gifts from the event's sponsors.
The 10th edition of the Kalasha International and Film Television Awards was marked with glamour and style at Sarit Center in Nairobi.
Ruth Moeni in Able Differently.
The Kenya Film Commission Chief Executive Officer Timothy Owase said this year's Kalasha had 31 categories up for contest, 17 under film, while 8 under television and 6 under special awards. The Commission says the annual event aims at awarding excellence in the Kenyan film industry.
Through this award ceremony, we are able to evaluate the industry and get honest feedback that enables us to develop fitting programs that are necessary to propel our growth and benchmark internationally.
KBC's board director, Charles Mulila, presented an award to the best TV advertisement. The Kalasha Awards were graced by ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru, among other dignitaries.
Through the recent reintroduction of the drive-in cinemas, the Commission now offers content producers an innovative way of content consumption as well as an alternative distribution system.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Film and Classification Board Sunday FCB Chief Executive Officer Dr. Ezekiel Mtua says the board desire to see more authentic Kenyan stories told through film, but more importantly, the appreciation for clean content
that we can consume as a family, that will encourage our cultures, that will promote our vibrancy, that will reawaken our soul to hard work, to love, to unity, and to peace. And more importantly, that would give the resilience and the power of the African person and humanity.
A Kenya filmmaker, Brian Boogie of Dreamchild Ramadi Production, walked home with 1 million shillings from the Kisima Music and Film Awards under the theme Reawakening the Soul, Spirit and Vibrancy of Africa through Music and Film. Mbugi emerged best from 25 contestants to scoop the award. Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa was among dignitaries of this year's Kisima Awards. Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1.
Congratulations to the winners. Police in Migori County are holding a man found with 54 kilograms of elephant tusks worth 5.4 million shillings. The 40-year-old man was arrested by officers from the Kenya Wildlife Service who were acting on a tip-off from members of the public, and the suspect is now detained at Migori Police Station. According to Migori County Police Commander Manasseh Musyoka, the elephant trophies weighing 54 kilograms were packed in sacks ready for transportation, but the road for the trafficker came to an end when officers from the Kenya Wildlife Services, drawn from both Narok and Migori counties, cornered him.
Efforts of members of public, together with our gallant officers from Langata, KWS and Migori Kilgoris KWS team managed to net these ivory tusks as you see them.
The Migori police boss commended members of the public for alerting the police, urging them to remain vigilant and not shy away from reporting such cases.
Are endangered, and with the future holds on what we do in terms of prevention of this. So more efforts, collaboration between us and the public is encouraged so that our future generations can be able to get a glimpse of live animals.
The suspect is said to have packed the ivories inside a charcoal sack in Narok and was transporting them to Migori.
I would say that they were illegally smuggled. Yeah, just legally smuggled, and we are glad that the members of public were able to give us that information. More information is ongoing, and of course we still have information in terms of falling much more.
According to Musyoka, cases of poaching within Migori have been on the rise. And women from the Maasai community have been challenged to embrace income-earning enterprises to boost the fight against female genital mutilation adversely affecting girl child. Elsewhere, traders in Makadara Estate, Athi River, Machakos County are counting losses after fire razed down their property on Saturday night. Details of this and other stories in the news making headlines in the counties.
Poverty among the Maasai women has been attributed largely to practices such as female genital mutilation, early marriage and pregnancies in most families. To deal with this archaic practice, Kajiado County government departments in collaboration with Maa community-based organizations have introduced several income-generating enterprises, among them indigenous tree planting, to hundreds of Maasai women from Enkinya village, Kajiado Central Sub-County to help eke a living.
Ukeketaji na wasichana kuolewa wakiwa wadogo ni kwa sababu wazazi wamekosa kitu ya kula. Lakini tukipanda miti tulete manufaa kwa environment yetu. Hiyo pia inaweza kusaidia kuinua economy na inaweza kusaidia pia kuondoa mambo mengine ya kitamaduni ambayo wakati huu inazuia watoto kuendelea na masomo na maisha yao.
Elsewhere, Kenya National Highways Authority has revealed that the 84 kilometers along Kenol-Sagana-Marua dual carriageway will be open for use in December 2021. Through its chair, Engineer Wangai Ndirangu, the first phase of the project will see 36 kilometers of road constructed from Sagana to Marua at a cost of 6 billion shillings, while the second phase will stretch for 48 kilometers from Kenol to Sagana at a cost of 8 billion shillings.
We are trying to optimize the time so that achieved what we call substantial completion in a way that we can open the road to traffic. Perhaps a few things will still be pending, things like the interchanges and the bridges, but the work will be, say, at about an 80% level of completion by December.
Meanwhile, an Italian investor in Malindi, Kilifi County has been forced to hire at least 30 women in the area to clean up garbage that has been left uncollected for months. Despite being in a county, garbage collection officers have been spotted in the area for months.
Ingawaje ni umbali na town, lakini sasa wajue kwamba kuna watu, kuna wazee, kuna watoto, na hizi vitu zikikaa hapa kwa muda huwa zinaleta mahoma, zinaleta madhara kwa kila aina ya mwanadamu.
While traders in Makadara Estate, Athi River, Machakos County are counting losses after fire razed down their property on Saturday night, Athi River Sub-County Police Commander George Kashimiri said no injuries were reported and that police has launched investigations into the cause of the inferno.
Members of the public wawe waangalifu sana sana wale wako na vioski, wasiwache moto ikiwa inawaka.
And finally, hundreds of people living with disability in Kiambu County had a reason to smile after they received wheelchairs and clutches from Kiambu Member of Parliament June Jomo. The legislator urged the government to come up with a policy where visually impaired people should be given special reflector to wear to help cushion them from road accidents.
Our roads are well taken care of so that they are wheelchair friendly. When we are building this school, we had to make sure that it has a ramp so that you can use a wheelchair. Matters disability have been recognized much more than they were before.
Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
U.S. Electoral College is set to endorse Joe Biden's victory on Monday. These are thousands of U.S. President Donald Trump's supporters alleging electoral fraud converged on several U.S. sites and towns on weekend. In Washington, D.C., according to police statistics, more than 20 people were arrested and 4 were stabbed. Trump, who lost the November 3rd election to Joe Biden, is yet to concede.
Joe Biden won 306 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 232 in the Electoral College and garnered over 7 million votes, more than his Republican rival in the popular vote. In the nation's capital, police sought to keep the two sides apart, a strategy that included sealing off Black Lives Matter Plaza, where counter-demonstrations had gathered. Trump demonstrators rallying behind the banner "Stop the Steal" were joined by members of the far-right Proud Boys dressed in yellow and black, many wearing bulletproof vests. The Electoral College, which elects U.S. presidents, is set to endorse Biden's victory on Monday. Elsewhere, Germany is set to go into a hard lockdown over the Christmas period as the number of deaths and infections from the coronavirus reached record levels. The new lockdown will run from the 16th December to 10th January, and non-essential shops will close across the country from Wednesday, as will schools with children to be cared for at home whenever possible. The latest figures showed 20,200 more infections and a further 321 deaths. The UK and the EU have agreed to carry on post-Brexit trade talks after a meeting between leaders earlier on Sunday. In a joint statement, Boris Johnson and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen agreed that more talks will continue. The two sides have said that Sunday was the deadline for a decision on whether to continue with the talks, with the UK set to leave EU rules at the end of the month. For Channel 1 News, I'm Ben Troy-Njue.
Let's get the sport, and KCB maintained their unbeaten start to the 2020-2021 FKF Premier League season by beating Kakamega Homeboys 2-0 to move to second position on the table with 9 points after 3 matches. Simon Abuko and David Owino netted the 2 goals for KCB to keep their unbeaten record intact, but sit just behind leaders AFC Leopards, who are on top with 9 points but with a better goal difference. KCB also maintained their clean sheet and have not conceded any goals so far this season. Vihiga United recorded their first win of the season, defeating Zoya Sugar 2-1 to climb up to 11th on the table, while Wazito were held to a goalless draw by Posta Rangers. Moving on, Kayole Starlets began their 2020-2021 FKF Women League season on a winning note after thrashing Mathare United 4-0 at the Steamer grounds in Nairobi. Thika Queens also registered a win in their opening encounter, beating Ulinzi Starlets 2-1.
Kayole Starlets have begun their 2020-2021 FKF Women League season on a winning note by humbling Mathare United 4-0 at Steamer grounds in Nairobi. A brace from Leslie Anyango and 2 more goals from Christine Goizi and Helena Kinyi sealed the easy win for Starlets, leaving coach Joshua Sakwa confident of registering better results this season.
Although unapata ligi ni ngumu juu unapata team zinashuka team 3. So kwanza kitu ya kwanza tunaanza kufight relegation. Ndio at least tujue kama tunaweza kwenda kucompete kwa trophy kwa nambwana, ama kwanza aim yetu kubwa kwanza ni kumake sure kwanza tumetoka kwa relegation.
Starlets were missing 3 key players for the encounter that saw them score 3 goals in the first half without conceding and netted the 4th midway through the second half. Mathare coach Mary Odhiambo was disappointed with the heavy loss, demanding a better performance from her players in their next encounter.
Okay, tumeanza season vibaya, tumefungwa bao 4, of which kwangu mimi naona ni nyingi sana. Inamaanisha kuna kitu tulikuwa tunafanya but haijafika, hesabu haijafika vile tulikuwa tunataka, and inamaanisha opponents wametufunga 4-0 na sisi hatukufunga hata bao moja, so inamaanisha bado tuna problem pia kwa finishing, ama tuseme in general tuna problem kwa team simply because defense line ilishindwa kuzuia hizo bao 4, then attackers pia walishindwa kufunga.
Thika Queens also registered a win in their opening encounter played earlier in the morning at the Utali grounds. Thika Queens defeated Ulinzi Starlets 2-1 to secure 3 vital points. A total of 7 matches were played today as the season kicked off, with all the players having undergone COVID-19 testing before the matches kicked off today.
Mengi Sumu are this year's champions of the TJ Kajwang Raraka Championship after dispatching Lebon FC 1-0. An entertaining football final played today at Babadogo grounds in Raraka constituency. More than 100 teams took part in the tournament, which started back in November.
Mengi Sumu are this year's champions of the TJ Kajwang Raraka Championship after beating Lebon FC 1-0 in the men football final played today at the Babadogo grounds. The championship, which started on 14th of last month, saw Babadogo women bagging the netball title after seeing off Korogocho women in the final. Mengi Sumu were rewarded with playing kits, football, and a cash reward of 100,000 shillings, while Lebanon FC walked home with 50,000 shillings. The championship was organized by Raraka MP TJ Kajwang. Meanwhile, the Wajir County government says they will invest in sports facilities as a way to ensure that the youths in the area are not engaged in evil activities. The county government promised to renovate the Wajir Stadium, challenging the youths to engage themselves in the various sporting disciplines and showcase their talents as they also earn rightfully. This would in turn bring peace in the region that has not been at peace for a very long time.
Nyinyi ukiendelea hivyo na mujaribu ku engage yourselves in such activities, sports na kadhalika, unasahau maneno ya kusema unaenda kwa Al-Shabaab, sijui unaenda kwa mahali zingine. Hizo should be a thing of the past. Al-Shabaab wanaweza kuambia watakupatia pesa, watakupatia madollars, ukifika tu huko you cannot come back. Unajua ni kama imprisonment, you cannot come back.
The peace message to the youths was passed during the final of the Wajir Football Cup, which saw Halane defeat Iftin 4-2 and lift the 2020 Jamhuri title.
Nairobi West Prison's Magereza darts team was crowned this year's Magereza Cup champions after finishing top in the final day of the 2020 edition that culminated at Nairobi West Prison's grounds in Nairobi. 10 teams that feature in the National League featured in the championship.
Magereza darts team finished top in Group A with 44 points, while Museum team was second with 31 points. Rongai Police settled for the third position with 30 points. Magereza had an exemplary performance in Group A after claiming a 6-4 points win over APTC before registering a similar result against Njadaini. The team claimed a victory against Mang team to emerge victorious in Group A. In Group B, Rongai Prisons beat Committee Lions by 7 points. In Group B, Rift Valley Prisons beat Committee Lions by 7 points to 3, while Rongai Police claimed an 8-2 win over Committee Lions. The tournament was aimed at preparing teams for next season's league campaign. Frederick Muki for Channel 1 Sports.
And Jeffrey scored a late Crystal Palace equalizer after a mistake by Hugo Lloris to deny leaders Tottenham victory before their top of the table game at Liverpool on Wednesday. Southampton had earlier moved into the Premier League's top 4 by sweeping aside bottom club